Konoha was engulfed in flames, and you saw the shadow of the monster looming over everything. It seems impossible, dude, but all this destruction started with a single cry. The real story began years earlier. So picture the calmest night in Konoha, a moonless night where the village slept peacefully, oblivious to its fate. A baby was born into an ordinary family, crying loudly and grasping his mother's hand with surprising strength, sending chills down the spine of the midwife holding him, almost like an electric shock coursing through her tired body, because the energy that radiated from him was ancient, almost alien in its density and complexity. But no one noticed the disturbing truth behind that intense chakra, interpreting it only as a good omen. His proud and relieved parents named him Ren, and he grew up too fast, with restless eyes that seemed to observe the world with unusual depth. And you could see a different intelligence there, a sagacity beyond his years. Konoha was unprepared, dude, completely blind to the power sleeping beneath the guise of an innocent child. And this ignorance made the entire village vulnerable to something it couldn't even comprehend. Ren had strange and vivid dreams, visions of epic battles on devastated battlefields, and a raw power he felt in his veins, but didn't understand, as if echoes of a past life were trying to resurface in his mind. At 5 years old, in a childish fit of rage, but with a terrifying intensity, the ground cracked around him without any physical touch, and the walls trembled, a sinister manifestation that left everyone frozen in fear. And it was at that instant that you realized the nightmare had begun, and no one in Konoha, not even the Hokages, knew how to stop or even identify this emerging threat. The tremor that shook the house wasn't an ordinary earthquake, dude, because the air became charged with an intent that chilled anyone's spine there, and Ren's mother felt a supernatural shiver as he cried. His parents tried to calm him, but the terror in his mother's eyes showed that she felt something very wrong, something that wasn't just a child's tantrum, and the dark aura around the boy was growing, almost palpable. The next day, Ren woke up with an eerie calm, but his eyes, once restless, now gleamed with a red spark for an instant, a quick flash that no one else noticed, except for the mirror in his room. He began drawing strange symbols on the dirt ground of the yard, complex spirals and ancient geometric shapes, patterns that seemed ripped from forbidden scrolls and that he had never seen before anywhere. These drawings, you'll see, didn't go unnoticed, because a spectral figure, clad in a dark cloak and hooded, watched the house from afar every night, like a lurking predator, silent and invisible. Once, when a stray cat crossed his path and startled him, Ren let out an animalistic growl, and the feline flew backward, hit by an invisible wave of energy that left it unconscious, without even a visible physical scratch. His parents began whispering about something more to Ren, because the frequency of these abnormal events was increasing, and the atmosphere in the house became heavy, laden with a silent and unbearable apprehension. Ren's visions became clearer and more violent, showing him smoking battlefields and the glow of red eyes with concentric ring pupils, an image that pounded in his mind, insistently familiar and terrifying. That hooded figure, dude, was closer now, because he wanted something. He wanted the legacy that Ren didn't even know he possessed, and its presence was a magnet for the boy's dormant power, an irresistible call. On a chilly morning, Ren woke up to an ancient whisper in his mind, a name that echoed from the depths of his being, Madara. And as he looked at his hands, he saw a Sharingan with one tomo, glowing in the reflection of a broken window pane. Konoha's skies darkened under the new order imposed by a boy. How did this child who barely knew how to tie his shoes become the master of so much power and darkness, dude? It all began the instant Ren saw his own distorted reflection in that piece of glass, and the name Madara sounded like silent thunder within his childlike mind. The red spark in his right eye, the tomoe slowly spinning, was more than an image. It was an ancestral promise of power and domination, and you could feel his mind breaking, molding. He tried to blink, rub his eyes, but the vision persisted. And then the whisper became a clear, deep voice, echoing in the darkest corners of his soul, promising him grandeur and control. Madara's voice, dude, was seizing every thought, planting seeds of distrust and an insatiable thirst for knowledge and strength in Ren. And the boy's innocence began to fade. The next day, Ren didn't play with his toys. He searched for ancient books on his parents' shelf, his curious eyes fixed on symbols of forgotten clans and legends about ninjas who dominated the world. The hooded figure, you'll notice, watched him more closely now, because the process was accelerating and an almost invisible smile formed under the hood, knowing that his wait was about to end. Ren began talking to himself in a dialect that no one in Konoha understood, and with each word, the energy around him pulsed, as if he were reciting a forbidden jutsu, awakening something ancient within himself. His parents, noticing the terrifying change, tried to take him to doctors and elders, but Ren only smiled with a cold wisdom, and the red eyes appeared and disappeared, almost like an omen. In a fit of rage induced by the voice, Ren manifested an impenetrable wall of earth around him, and the chakra barrier was so dense that not even the strongest jonin could break through it. He felt Madara's power explode in his veins, and the voice in his mind, now almost one with his own, declared, "You will be the end of Konoha." as a second Tomoe spins in his Sharingan. The Hokage tower crumbled to ashes, and at the epicenter, Ren floated. How did this teenager who once cried for toys become the architect of such absolute ruin, dude? The truth began to unfold when Ren, at 10 years old, already mastered the two Tomoe Sharingan, his red eyes capturing every movement and intention of everyone. A predator observing his prey. Madara's voice was no longer a whisper, but a mentor in his mind, teaching him to manipulate, to observe, to uncover the village's hidden weaknesses. Because Konoha was blind, he spent entire nights studying the ancient maps in the library, mapping patrol routes and the ambu's blind spots. Because a web of intrigue was forming, invisible to the elders. His parents still saw him as a quiet, studious boy, oblivious to the venom he silently distilled. And you could feel the tension in how he disguised his true nature. The hooded figure was no longer just an observer. He was an informant, a whispering shadow who brought forbidden scrolls and secrets of forgotten clans, accelerating Ren's training. During a secret training session in the forests, Ren disabled an elite Anbu squad who were on a routine mission with a frightening ease, using genjutsu they didn't even see coming. But with each victory, Madara's voice grew louder, more dominant, and Ren felt his own identity slipping away, because power came with too high a price, a darkness with no return. He knew Konoha was unprepared for what was coming, and with the three Tomoe Sharingan now active in both eyes, Ren looked at the Hokage tower, a cold smile on his lips, and murmured the final plan. What he didn't expect was that the hooded figure had plans of his own, a twist that would change the entire game and Ren's loyalty forever. Konoha burned, and Ren's scream echoed, the tremor of the earth beneath his feet, heralding the apocalypse. Where was the child who dreamed of toys, dude? Because now in his place, there was a red-eyed demon, and you wondered how innocence turned into such boundless fury. Ren's final plan was in motion, meticulously calculated, and Madara's voice sang victories in his mind, promising a new world, a power he had never imagined. The sensation of control was intoxicating. He positioned himself atop Hokage Mountain, a vantage point that symbolized absolute domination, his Sharingan eyes spinning frantically, absorbing every detail of the sleeping village, awaiting the signal for the final attack. You could feel his thirst for power. But the hooded figure, dude, watched from a dense shadow in the trees, and an even more sordid and complex plan was taking shape in his mind. A plan that Ren, in his fury, couldn't predict, not even remotely. The first attack was a colossal fire jutsu, a black flame dragon that swallowed the first houses on the outskirts of Konoha, and the creature's roar mingled with the screams of terror and despair from the civilians. The destruction was immediate. Shinobi emerged from the shadows, their faces contorted in terror and disbelief, because the power emanating from Ren was irrational, unprecedented in the village's history, and Konoha's defenses were completely unprepared for such overwhelming fury. Ren floated in the air, now enveloped in a purple chakra skeleton, a primary Susanoo formation, but already massive and devastating, and the voice in his mind cackled with pure joy, celebrating every ruin and every life lost there. But then, dude, the hooded figure acted with surprising speed, and it wasn't to help Ren. An ancient seal glowed on the monument's ground, and Madara's chakra was abruptly drained from the boy, causing excruciating and acute pain. Ren fell to his knees, the Susanoo dissipating into purple mist, Madara's voice silenced for an instant of pure shock, and you saw the confusion and pain in his eyes, an unexpected betrayal that hit him hard. The hooded figure slowly removed his hood, revealing a familiar face, but distorted by ancient scars and a malicious smile that promised more pain. And the truth behind Madara's legacy was about to be revealed, dude. The face under the hood was Kagami Uchiha's, a name that should have been dead for decades, now distorted by scars and a maniacal gaze. Kagami, Shisui's ancestor, one of the most loyal to Konoha, alive and manipulating Madara's legacy? How did this abomination become real, dude? Ren, fallen on the ground, felt Madara's chakra drain from his body. A sharp pain, emptiness replacing the raw power, and the Susanoo vanished in purple smoke, leaving behind only the smoke from the burned houses. His eyes, once gleaming with the three Tomoe Sharingan, now flickered, confused, alternating between red and black, and Madara's voice, once thunder, was a distant, almost forgotten whisper. Kagami, or what was left of him, advanced on the boy with supernatural agility, and his eyes, a blind Sharingan and a Rinnegan that seemed to absorb light, gleamed with ancient malice. You felt the air escape your lungs. You were just a tool, child, Kagami's voice growled, deep and cracked, an imperfect vessel for the true legacy. He raised one hand, and dark chakra began to converge into his palm, dense, promising unspeakable pain. At that instant, two quick flashes cut through the night sky, and Naruto and Sasuke, exhausted from patrol, but alerted by the chakra spike, landed on Hokage Mountain, their faces contorted in disbelief and fury. They saw the village in ruins, the boy fallen, and Kagami's twisted figure, and their eyes narrowed, because they felt a familiar but distorted energy emanating from the man, something ancient and dangerous. "Kagami Uchiha, it's impossible!" Naruto yelled, the Kyuubi's chakra bubbling around him, and Sasuke activated his Rinnegan, realizing it wasn't just a resurrection, but a reincarnation of Madara's will. Kagami let out a cold laugh. "Impossible is fighting against what is destined, fools. The true essence of Madara never died. It was merely waiting for the right vessel to bloom." You felt a shiver run down your spine. He pointed at Ren. This boy was just the beginning, the bait to attract who truly matters. And with a swift movement, a beam of purple chakra jetted from his hand, going straight for Sasuke, the attack swift and lethal. Sasuke reacted, but the speed was supernatural, and the beam hit him squarely, making him explode into a cloud of smoke, while Naruto yelled, helpless in the face of the surprise, and the truth about the attack on Konoha was revealed. Naruto didn't think, dude. The Kyuubi's fury exploded into a golden chakra cloak, and he charged, screaming Sasuke's name with a pain that tore his soul. A vandalic and unhesitating attack against Kagami, driven by pure rage. He felt the Bijuu's power boiling, every fiber of his body ready for war. But then the cloud of smoke dissipated, and Sasuke reappeared unharmed, his Sharingan and Rinnegan activated, a smirk on his face, revealing a quick substitution jutsu that he executed in milliseconds, because he also anticipated the betrayal. He wasn't so foolish to be caught off guard like that, dude. Feeling Kagami's strange energy, Kagami merely cackled, unsurprised, because he knew that attack was just a provocation, a test of the Hokage's true strength, and the dark chakra in his hand pulsed, waiting for the right moment for the final blow, revealing his disinterest in Ren. He had a greater objective, a plan that involved a much greater power. Naruto and Sasuke, in perfect synchronicity, attacked together, a perfect combination of Rasengan and Chidori, and the explosion of energy ripped through the air, trying to incinerate Kagami, but he moved with a speed that defied perception, dodging the blows with a sinister grace. You could feel the ground tremble with the force. Fallen, Ren felt the pain in his head, but a small flicker of his own consciousness began to resist, a childish but stubborn force that refused to be completely crushed by Madara's voice, and he dragged himself, determined to do something to stop the destruction he had initiated. He saw the chaos in Konoha. Kagami revealed his true power, conjuring a gigantic demonic wood statue that towered over Konoha, a primitive form of Hashirama's wood Susanoo, yet distorted and malignant, and the villain's laughter echoed, promising the total annihilation of the village, because he didn't care about anyone. With a cry of determination, Ren channeled what remained of Madara's chakra, not to attack, but to create a temporary seal on himself, a spiritual barrier to contain the essence of the voice, an unthinking but desperate action to prevent evil from completely taking over his body. He felt weak. The purple chakra barrier around Ren glowed and shattered, but Madara's voice in his mind became muted, a distant whisper, and he fainted, the effort draining all his vital energy because he had achieved the impossible, partially sealing a force that was too great for him, a sacrifice of his own will. Kagami's distraction upon seeing Ren containing himself was enough, dude, because Naruto and Sasuke struck the wood statue with a combined attack that shattered it, and Kagami, wounded but not defeated, retreated into the shadows, promising that Madara's will would never die, that this was just the beginning. You could feel the chill of that promise. Konoha was in ruins, but the immediate threat had been contained, and Ren was taken, his childlike body still carrying the dormant spark of Madara. And the world knew that even with Kagami retreating, the true nightmare, the essence of the most feared Uchiha, was merely dormant, waiting for the right moment to emerge again, in another vessel. So dude, what did you think of that twist? If you liked this insane story, don't forget to hit that like button to support the channel, and subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. There are more videos waiting for you here on the channel, so check them out. Thanks so much for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you in the next one.